Greetings, beloved. I'm Dr. Felicia LaBoy, lead pastor and life coach here at the historic First United Methodist Church in downtown Elgin, Illinois, with another motivational moment from the Bible. These motivational moments are designed to help all of us take what we hear in church on Sunday or whenever you listen, what we may hear in a podcast, see on a YouTube or TikTok video, what we may read during our private devotional time, to take those biblical concepts and to make them a part of our everyday life. This first week of Advent, I want us to focus in on this idea of hoping against hope. If you've been tracking along with our church, you know that we started our Advent season this past Sunday, and we are in the midst of a series entitled Rediscover Christmas. Finding hope in uncertain times, right? If there was ever a time with so much going on, right? We have natural disasters. We've got war, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, and Lord only knows what else is cropping up or kind of brewing up somewhere. We've got the migrant issue. We got political issues in DC. We got gang warfare and violence, gun violence, people getting shot up. We've got sickness. Oh gosh, it's a lot, right? And I don't know about you, but it seems to me that Christmas kind of snuck up on me. And so I didn't know that I was quite ready for Advent, but boy, now that I'm in the midst of it, I know that I need it. Why? Because watching the daily news, 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 6:30, I don't care which channel you're watching, it could be so easy to forget who we are and whose we are. This passage from Romans is one of my favorite. Maybe it's one of my favorite because it's the first time I got to preach a whole sermon somewhere, and I preached on this passage. Beloved, here's the thing. At the very foundation of our faith, you know about faith, right? Not this personal thing about how you carry yourself and you read your Bible and you do devotion. Yeah, that's important, but Scripture is very clear that faith is the substance of things hoped for. It says, I hope for things. I don't wish on for things. Wish says I kind of hope it might. I'm wishing that it might work. No, God is not a genie. I can hope. I can stand on the promises of God. You can stand on the promises of God. That when God makes us a promise, God intends to fulfill it. Doesn't matter how long it takes. Doesn't matter if it looks like it's the opportune time. Doesn't matter what other folks say. But God will do what God says. And I love this passage in Romans because Paul is trying to talk to the Roman church and tell them it's not about your works. It's not about having everything together. And he uses Abraham as an example. And what he's talking about here, when Abraham hopes against hope, he said, look, Abraham was almost 100. His wife Sarah was 90, way past menopause. Who had a baby at 90? It says when everything was hopeless, when God told Abraham it was time, Abraham believed God anyway, winked at his wife, and they had Isaac. That's the LaBoy version. Beloved, here is the point. When everything around us seems hopeless, we should believe anyway. I think about this last year as our governance board, the church council, the ones who are leading our church. We sat around and we talked about where we were a year ago. We talked about we weren't sure if our church could make it, and we weren't sure where we would be, but we just decided we would step out on faith and trust God. Shaking, scared, preaching faith till we had it. And then we see now how God has answered in incredible ways. We are so blessed and privileged now to be for our city the warming shelter that's opened every night, December 1 through March 31st, every night to provide 60 persons with a safe place to sleep. Every night at our church, there is a AA and NA, alcohol and drug group, places to keep people, to help people turn their life around. Recently entered into a partnership with the Youth Build program to help at-risk youth or kids who've just kind of lost their way gain vital construction skills and life skills and leadership development skills that will not only change their lives, but will change the lives of their families forever. And every time we've turned around, the Lord has had a blessing. During the summer, when most places experience a slump, we received some money through a chance encounter conversation I had with a friend. Wasn't even talking about church stuff. I was talking about wreaths. We look at the partnerships we've entered into, and God has turned this thing around, so we're almost giddy, wondering what God will do next. Beloved, if there was ever a time for the world to have hope, it is now. And if there's ever going to be a people who can bring hope, it has to be the people whose faith rests on hope. You and I, whether we are in 100% of the way, we have to hope against hope and say to ourselves, it looks hopeless, but we're going to believe anyway. We're going to believe that God is still working anyway. We're going to believe that God has something up God's sleeve anyway. We believe that God is going to bring us out anyway. We believe that God is going to do something exceedingly and abundantly far above all we dare to ask or think anyhow. 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 Can you tell I'm about ready to shout? Maybe you think I'm about ready to preach. Beloved, we don't have a God who has not demonstrated in the past that God does his best work when things seem hopeless. Abraham 99, Sarah 90. Now I know it's too much for you, but think about it. Shepherd boy, rock and a rag, slay Goliath. People once enslaved from the position of their churches begin to march out, gather all kinds of folks with them, cause the mightiest nation in the land, the one had brought about their enslavement. I'm talking about the civil rights movement, brought that nation to its knees, and look at where we're at now. Beloved, God can, and God will, and God does God's best work. So I want to challenge you. Be like that father who really wanted his son healed, and the disciples couldn't do it. And he said, God, if you can do something. And Jesus was like, if I can. And the father, recognizing that he had mistaken Jesus for someone else, he had forgotten who Jesus was, said, Lord, help my unbelief. This week I want to encourage you, find those places where you need to ask God to help your unbelief and believe anyway. And watch and see what God will do. This week, our Refresh Your Soul moment is What a Beautiful Name by Travis Cottrell and Lily Cottrell. It is wonderful because it reminds us that when it looks hopeless, our God is always there. Beloved, I am Dr. Felicia LeBoy, lead pastor and life coach here at the historic First United Methodist Church in downtown Elgin, Illinois. Be blessed. I love you. And remember, believe anyway. See you soon.